Well, I understand that on the one hand with regard to the possibility of copycat crimes. However, if this really is on the increase in America now, shouldn't we know about it?
Yes, I think we should. The incidences, it's more frequent as far as the incidence of it. And if you drew a graph, you'd find an increase of over 700% since the early 1970s.
Now, who keeps track of that? Are you the one?
We do in this northeast corner of the United States. That's where I'm only talking about that too. And I could make oblique references, but they'd be anecdotally, as regards evidence, to other parts of the country.
But you're sure of what you're saying with regard to the Northeast?
Yes, I'm unfortunately rather sure of that. And what has come to light is that it is not so surprising for a lot of people that there are covens amongst the very educated class, architects, doctors, lawyers, priests, brokers, and the leisure class.
These are people who have made pacts with the devil.
That's right. It's really the more accurate way of describing it would be that they have indulged themselves in the worship of the goat, of the prince, of the serpent, of Satan, of Lucifer, and they lead perfectly normal lives. They're jewel merchants. They travel. They're prominent in their own way, but they do have this indulgence.
Father, here's a part of that I can never understand, that has never made sense to me, and that is, if somebody were to make a pact with the devil, then obviously the implication is if the devil is there to make a pact with them, to make a deal, to make their life, this short mortal life on earth, pleasurable, with money or women or travel,
more interesting,
or more interesting, whatever it is they want.
Yes.
Then they are aware of the presence of the devil, and they are obviously aware then of the presence of God as well, and they nevertheless make a conscious, stupid, short-term, blind choice to take what they can get in this lifetime. And to embrace one, you must embrace the other. It's not like it's some wishy-washy person.
I know you do. It is a very not easy to understand, except when you talk with them, when they let their hair down and peel grapes, as we say, and when they're on their way to being cured of or healed is the proper word. You find that there's an exhilaration and a satisfaction which is both sensual and sexual and mental when they really indulge in Luciferian worship. There is a peculiar exhilaration.
Like a drug, then?
Yes, it's a peculiar exhilaration. And of course, the godly instincts in us all, the angelic in us all, because we all have something angelic and something godly, besides everything else, a lot of other negative things, that is quenched. And you find in them a horror of anything what we call sacred and holy or sacrosanct, or the idea of the sacred, of the awesome.
I only heard this once, Father. I interviewed, we talked about this, I interviewed a Satanist. Her name was Patsy. And this caused a great deal of controversy after the last program that I did with you. I got many, many messages about it. Patsy was a devil worshiper. No question about it. No question about it. Toward the end of the program, she revealed to me that her husband had murdered her little child, a several-year-old child. And she said, I said to her, well, you're sure not going to be with your daughter, are you? In other words, your daughter's going to be in heaven, and you're going to be acknowledged you're going to be in hell. She said, oh, no, I took steps to ensure that my daughter would be in hell with me. And I asked you about that. Was that possible, I asked? And you said, yes. And then, by the way, you're not the only one who said yes. A couple of other experts said the same thing.
Sure, it's possible.
And people just went berserk. They said, no, it can't be.
I'm sorry, it is. You see, sometimes we moderns think with a very peculiar and artificial frame of reference as regards the human soul and the human mind. We're not talking, if we really are realistic, we're talking about the basic inclination of the human soul and the human spirit, and not about some informed concept.
So we are making these statements based on what our own frame of reference is.
That's right. Exactly.
Not what spiritual reality is.
Exactly. And it's a frightening thing when you come across what we all know is called bad seed. It's a frightening thing. It's like those two little boys in England that were that boy in England who killed off two of his little children. It's a frightening thing when you meet it, because it's utter art. Let me try and convey it to you and your listeners. You come across this extraordinary.
Father, I'll tell you what. We're at the bottom of the hour.
Okay, why don't we wait?
So why don't we wait? And this is something I would like conveyed.
Sure.
Stay right there. Father Malachi Martin from New York City is my guest. And we are about also to discuss what has happened in the Vatican hours ago. In all of man's living memory, there has not been murder in the Vatican until tonight. This is Coast to Coast AM.
Was the fact that there's nothing more appalling for the mind that I have anyway, than to come across a person technically considered a child with the hard glare of consummate hatred and complete lack of the normal reactions of compassion and feeling and understanding.
Right.
And we do find that today, I was going to say increasingly, but there's a certain increase amongst the age group of 5 to 8. And that's a very disturbing thing. And it's impossible to say that it's developed by TV, by violence on TV, and that sort of business. We don't know. There's no official inquiry into it, because many of the people who should be, like, for instance, there's one section of the FBI, I think, a bioethical laboratory or something, I forget the exact title of it. It's one of their institutes, institutes in Washington is supposed to inquire into it, but they poo-poo the idea of active Satanism.
Now we have children that are killing, and when asked why they did it, they get really interesting answers, like to see what it would feel like.
That's right.
That sort of thing.
That's right.
This is from what I would consider to be a soulless being. Either that or otherwise, you covered the ground, television, the rest of it. So then why? What's happening?
Well, those of us who are engaged in the field of demonology always find finally the footprint of the goat, the footprint of Lucifer. And that is a very distinctive thing. Very distinctive thing. The whole thing is very disturbing. And of course it goes back to the breakdown of the family as such in our population. I mean, take for instance the figure, which is solid, that 33% of all births are illegitimate.
33% of all births are illegitimate.
That's right.
Well, fully 1/3.
Yep. And sociologists are weary and tired out depicting the general tendency amongst the illegitimate to all sorts of perversions and deficiencies, societal and personal. So I suppose that's part of that picture, but there's still this footprint, this
footprint
touch of Satanism. Yes, it's a smell. It's a print. You know that some being with a hoof, to use the image, with cloven hoofs, as you know, the Irish have a tradition that if you have a vision, an apparition of somebody who claims to be the Virgin Mary or Christ or a saint, always look at the feet. This is the Irish idea that they can imitate everything except he can't hide his cloven feet. But it's an Irish pishogue, as they say in Gaelic. It's an Irish saying, but there's a lot in it. And I know apparitions or appearances of the Virgin that took place in various parts of Europe, and people who took photographs of the visions and apparitions could never get a picture of their feet.
I have...
It's an Irish thing.
An Irish thing.
Yes.